everyone, and welcome back to our devlog. Today we're going to share the latest progress on the fortress building system. First, let's look at a feature many of you have been asking for: symmetrical building. Once this feature is enabled, you only need to build on one side, and the other side will follow automatically. That means twice the efficiency in the same amount of time, while keeping both sides perfectly symmetrical. As the saying goes, being strong is temporary, but looking good is forever. The center plane for this feature can be freely offset. So even when you are building a local structure, symmetrical building is still easy to use. That saves a lot of hassle. For fortress structure parts, we're adding more beveled designs. We're also making some parts thicker, so the fortress looks sturdier and more heavily armored. Of course, this is closely tied to our new support system. We've also adjusted most fortress base sizes to odd-numbered dimensions. This makes it much easier to build centered, symmetrical structures. Batch building is now a standard operation, and we're creating richer visual feedback for it. This time, we're putting a lot of work into the feel of building and the feedback details around it. Our goal is that while you're building a fortress, the controls feel smooth and the audio-visual feedback feels genuinely satisfying. There is one important point we want to emphasize here. The underlying mechanism of the fortress system in this game is completely different from our previous title. This game uses an ECS architecture with a mask plus voxel-based approach that forms the foundation of the fortress system. Simply put, in the physical logic calculation, every fortress part is made up of independent blocks. This design brings a major performance improvement. It also means players will be able to build much larger fortresses later on. But there is one thing we need to clarify. Because of this mechanism, the old method of placing parts on slopes or building with triangular structures is not supported for now. We do have some ideas, but with our current production capacity and cost constraints, we won't explore that direction for the time being. That said, the current building system supports more attachment directions. For example, almost all turrets can now be mounted sideways or underneath. You can choose freely based on your building needs. Of course, parts are affected by the support system. For heavier parts, side and underside mounting require proper structural design. Choose the right parts, and everything will work smoothly. Veteran players of our previous game should be familiar with X-ray mode. For building complex structures, this kind of helper feature is incredibly important. In this game, we've expanded both the mechanics and presentation of X-ray mode. First, the X-ray plane can be freely tilted and rotated. You can slice through parts diagonally or vertically and modify the inside of the fortress directly. This makes wall-mounted operations especially convenient. There's also a small but very useful feature. You can box, select some parts, then turn on X-ray mode. The special plane will quickly align to the direction and position you want. That removes a lot of repetitive fine-tuning. We've also added a show and hide system for individual categories of parts. It works a bit like track controls in music editing software. You can hide a certain category of parts, or show only that category. Both operations support selecting multiple categories at the same time. They can also be combined with the special plane. That makes building complex structures smoother and more efficient. During building, you can switch to first-person view at any time. Then you can go inside the fortress to inspect and check it. If anything feels unreasonable, you can spot it and adjust it immediately. This helps avoid rework later. When you build a structure you like, you can save it. Then you can reuse it later instead of rebuilding it from scratch. Yes, next up is the blueprint feature many of you have been waiting for. You can save your favorite structures as blueprints. Later, you can use them for batch building, or share them with other players to exchange ideas and learn from each other. When placing a blueprint, as long as some parts are in a buildable state, the blueprint can be built normally. The system will build the parts that can be placed, then run compliance checks and mark any invalid parts. With this mechanism, you can even use the blueprint system like a brush. For example, if fill small spaces inside a fortress, or combine different blueprints to quickly build complex structures. This greatly reduces building time and improves efficiency. One note, the current demo version does not yet include the support system, so some parts that look almost suspended are actually unstable. In this game, there are several types of fortress bases to choose from. Besides the regular base shown earlier, there are also irregular shaped bases. Different bases provide different spatial frameworks and stat tendencies. They let you build more personalized fortress appearances and create different combat styles, making gameplay richer. Combined with the new features we introduced earlier, the time cost of building has been dramatically reduced. But don't worry, this won't reduce the depth of fortress building. These are core elements closely tied to building depth. They ensure that building remains interesting. We will explain connection relationships in detail in a future devlog. They are also a key mechanism for fortress automation and logistics. You can look forward to that. The blueprint system will also have a major impact on future gameplay. It opens up many new possibilities. We'll show more design details as development continues. Thanks for watching this devlog. Our devlogs are released irregularly. Whenever there is meaningful development progress, we'll share it with you as soon as possible. Just keep following our updates.